Good evening. Thank you, Greg, for asking me to edit and now assist with the launch of this book, To Retire in Panama. I have to admit that I learned a lot about not only Panama, but also Greg and Jen. But maybe I should first explain how it was that I, living almost 12,000 miles or 7,500 kilometers away in South Africa, came to be the editor of the book. When our daughter and her husband moved to Panama a couple of years ago, they met Greg and Jen at church in Coronado and became good friends. Greg, Jen, Lynn and Tyron have had some wonderful adventures together, as you will learn when you read the book. My husband and I met them when we visited Lynn and Tyron in Panama earlier this year. When Greg had finished the first draft of his book, he asked Lynn to look it over and make corrections. She said she would pass it to me to edit, as this was something I had done a few times. But oh, the wonders of email, making it simple to keep in daily contact with one another. The book presented me with a few challenges, as it is, of course, written in US English, and I am accustomed to UK English. I discovered quite a few interesting differences, which I had not known before. Two of these were using a comma when writing a number which exceeds 1,000, and using a full stop or period after a person's initials. UK English dropped these many years ago. This is a very interesting and informative book. A combination of useful facts for would-be expats and exciting stories on how Greg and Jen have travelled around Panama and beyond, making some really wonderful discoveries and memories. Moving from one area of a town to another can be daunting, and there needs to be careful thought and preparation put into the decisions for the move. So much more has to be worked through and very carefully planned when moving to another country, and Greg has shown this very clearly in his book. He highlights two essential steps. Make a due diligence visit to the country you are considering. And secondly, start document preparations a minimum of 6 months in advance. The fact that we have computers and can send documents around the world in a matter of seconds is not a method used for legal documents. Greg describes some of the requirements in the book, detailing most of the paperwork and offices which are involved, and, usefully included, his and Jen's personal experiences. One error or one paper missing, and it could all be rejected. Everything from visa to renting to car purchase, plus, is linked to an applicant's passport. Greg tells of the scary moment he and Jen had when they thought that their passports had been lost, just a few days before making their final move. What a relief it was to find them in the file, where important documents were placed for safekeeping. Before making a major decision such as emigrating, learn as much about your chosen country as possible. As Greg notes, people have been known to pack up their old home and move to Panama, not knowing much about the only 2 seasons that are experienced there, and leaving after only a few months because they didn't like the weather. Greg has wisely created 4 sections plus the conclusion in his book. Section 1 is the reference section, describing the country of Panama and the day-to-day requirements to settle and be happy there. It includes, but is definitely not limited to, details of all the types of visas and work permits, the health system, purchasing a house and a car, the weather, and even details on appliances, TV programs, and internet options. This is a very comprehensive section, and if you're planning to immigrate, not necessarily to Panama, it is worth going through it carefully for information and suggestions on your proposed journey. The rest of the book is their personal journey and exploration trips. In section 2, he describes their own experiences of emigrating, leaving family and friends, obtaining the various visas and driver's licenses, purchasing their new home and car, and all the ups and downs of these. The third section is all about where they have travelled in Panama and neighbouring countries, including the joys and the difficulties experienced. From the prologue to the conclusion, it is clear that Greg could sense God's leading and guiding through his writing the book. It is only sensible then that he has a section devoted to their Christian life in Panama. On occasion, with regard to the editing, I would make a fairly radical suggestion of a change, and he will always write back and say yes or no, or often an adjustment to the suggestion, saying that his decision had been made after a time of prayer. His first realization that God was leading him on this path is in the prologue, when he found that he was able to express himself publicly when asked to give the sermon one Sunday. His conclusion wraps up this wonderful revelation by God that he, Greg, can tell his story, and by doing so, inspire others. Greg, you have written the book from your regular blogs, and thus from your heart. It tells of a wonderful, if at times frustrating, move by you and Jen to a new country, once retired from the daily grind. From what is written here, there is no question that you made the right decision, led by the right one. May your sales be great, and your joy in having helped and inspired others be even greater. Thank you.